Back to Creeple. Creeple watches the madness grow, laughing as he stirs the liquid silver, stirring gentle and slow, gazing deep into its fluid motion, watching it undulate, its surface silk smooth, as he slid his fingers through to penetrate the soft silver so hypnotic. Fingers crept in to separate the sinuous shape's strange magic, forming perfect spheres floating slow on the silver smooth lunatic surface. They move with motion slow and alluring as they melt in the surface's smooth ebb and flow, lapping upon his soft pale skin, calling him to join this strange sea of soft liquid silver satin smooth, calling him to come and see what it's like to be one with it, to taste of its toxicity, let it commingle with his spit. But no, just a taste of the taint could leave him hatter mad. A slit in his hand would quickly acquaint his blood with atoms, eager to explore his mind and leave there faint traces of madness. Creeple knew that this silver's magic's dark power. He laughed as Renfrey's madness grew in his search of the old power, the fabled bomb. He laughed so hard as the troops were made to cower at his name. He held the death card, and he loved to play it so much. That was true magic. Power. Scarred hearts from the invisible touch, lurking within their own shadow. Hearts scarred from Creeple's ice-cold clutch. But their minds, he saw them all glow silver. He saw it in their eyes. They were all mad and did not know it. That was Creeple's greatest prize in his putrid life. He scarred their hearts, oh yes. But now his black lies crawled out of their dark, slimy lair, oozing pus with silver flowing through their veins. Nothing could compare to seeing his lies breathe, knowing his silver magic played dark games. He saw it in their silver stare. Back to the trail. Looking back, Gear could see the flame orange glow in the sky from the hogs of war consuming the land claims of humans living in the bogs, forests and plains, villages and towns. There could be no dialogue between kings now. The grains of sand at the bottom of the hourglass were far too many. The demand for justice began to amass. Bishop Dunglock and King Martell heard petitions from every class as refugees came in to tell the horrors they saw and had done to them. Nothing more could compel king and bishop to garrison the remaining towns burdening the city and to jettison all their citizens, ordering them to retreat behind the gates. They knew many were soldiering on, acting as protectorates of their land or joining thunder tribes, those haulers of heavy freights, holders of that ancient wonder powered by that end-age liquid, sweet and dark, the modern's blunder, using it till it blew the lid off the pot. But they sure had fun in the traveling they did. Their trade routes won't be outdone. Unfathomable wars worldwide, unlocking secrets of the sun, going out for a Sunday ride. Now the oil is resurrected by those who've chosen to backslide into the modern's infected past. Yet those tribes fight their same fight, so freedom will be protected from those who choose to only write the law in abstract form while their hearts remain a lawless land. Night crawled slowly over the nightmare land of warring kingdoms, heavy under the Mad King's silver stare. On the levee. On the city's luscious levee, flowers, plants, and wildlife grew. Bishop Dung prayed that his levy of fighting monks could make it through the battle to come, to witness another spring and all the new green plants poking through the humus that would not be covered in snow and ice. He prays that they don't miss the frozen rivers and streams flow and gurgle with melting ice, and to listen to the sounds grow, chorus frogs and peepers entice one to sit upon the soft ground and listen to their song, so nice and simple. The peaceful spring sound, he prayed this would happen, whether here along with wild sidewalks found where the city is together with lush, wild plants and life untamed beside that great lake, or whether his monks' earthly bodies were claimed by the mad marching hordes mowing down all that nature has reclaimed since the end age. Soon the snowing would begin, pewter skies, frigid air masses, covering, flowing over the landscape, cold, arid, and quiet, resting in deep sleep. The king rushing headlong, livid and delirious, climbing steep wooded hills and frost-covered plains, would meet the cold from the far, deep northern reaches where nighttime reigns. On the lake shore the great city was well fortified for the creep of the cold, the dark, and the crazy. The days shortened, and shadows draped the expanse of land that Renfrew flooded over. Many escaped to Magnapolis. Many died in the Rose, that strange land that shaped the life of a young man who spied a young boy run into the hedge where shadows reign and strange men hide. There this boy was brought to the ledge of knowledge and truth and of love, and just as quickly to the edge of death and loss. A little shove, and he was sent into free fall, where he met the clover and dove, and trees magnificently tall. The war has only just begun. All are responding to the call of loyalty to serve their one king and bishop from this land they call their own. They will never run. Here they hunt, and here they farm. They raise their families, and they earn their livelihood. And here they play, they laugh and love. Their children learn their way of life. They must protect what they have, or else it will burn and fade away. Dunglac's select fighting monks are now well prepared to join the ranks of the elect of King Martels, who are compared to none in valor and daring. Still, many are left feeling scared as streams of refugees bearing injury and downcast stares flood the streets and city parks, wearing sodden clothing covered in mud. Is this their fate, broken and poor? Will that mad king's craving for blood really bring him here? Will their store of food last until the spring herds of buffalo return? The core, will it be safe? The bishop's words and actions are dire, asking all the faithful to heed their shepherd's meek voice and listen to his call, to seek aid from Mary, and pray the rosary, and don't forestall your duty to confess the way you've not obeyed Christ's one command, so that you can, without delay, receive Christ, both his body and blood. Yes, the war has just begun. Magnapolis prepares to stand, brave and tall as Renfrew's troops run over the land they love and know, desecrating all that they've won. Back to the trail. The previous night went so slow, Gear was thinking it would not end. Another day was soon to grow, and they would continue to wend their way to Magnapolis, for now he just waited for the end of Mass. Every morning before they set out, prayers were offered to their God. Oh, it was such a bore. Did anyone have a clue what they were saying, professing ancient prayers that no longer grew any fruit, and then confessing their natural urges or sin, so they may receive the blessing of some cheap wine and some stale thin bread? Unbelievable! How could Em believe this? This brought a grin to his tired and bored face. He would ask her, he thought, but no, she was gone. Why? How? Why would she go off alone? How hollow he felt. Lord, hear our prayer, he heard, for Em's repose. Hard to swallow hearing this. It seemed every word tore him up. He left at the creed, that ancient profession. It stirred too much within. Em used to plea with Gear to consider, to think about the truths therein, to feed his mind with its food and to drink its draught. But he always replied by asking Em to show a link between faith and reason. He tried to trip her up, but she always said she could never touch the side and hands where God's only Son bled. I was not there, so I must trust that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, in much the same way that we trust that God's grace allows me to turn to him in faith, which clarifies my reasoning, helping me learn how when on the cross Jesus dies, all secrets of the universe are revealed. And when God's one Son dies, pure, true love pours forth, and the curse of sin is lifted from the back of man. We cannot reimburse God for this, but we can give back our love if we but will to choose. Without love, Gear, reason will lack direction, and the mind will lose itself in the dark. Have faith, Gere, and the light will reveal clues to the truth. Trust and do not fear. Em was always so damn faithful. All that's left of her is this mere cross. It could never be useful for anything, he thought, yet he clung to it. It was beautiful, but only for the memory it held of Em. Yes, she was dead, and he would never see again her. There was no hope for the dead. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. In death there is nothing to dread. The mind dies and everything just fades away while the world moves on. God, faith, hope, and charity must be unique to mankind's eon of time. They will fade like a beam of light in the dark. Why does John believe in that stuff? It would seem that Renfrey's shadow should have cast darkness into his waking dream. But it appears that he has passed through the king's ominous shadow that is coming now oh so fast. But something is starting to grow in Gere's heart amidst his deep grief. A love for Em he didn't know he had. It came as a relief to the passion he had for her. How blind he was! But now the thief has come, a silent visitor in his heart now full of remorse. Never again could he prefer such base desire to this new force. Em was correct. They would rot had they taken that sinful course. He could not imagine their lot had she not refused his advance. The time wasted trying to plot, wondering if he had a chance. The remorse was almost too much to bear. There was no romance between them. He was in the clutch of lust, nothing more. He was blind. How could he have slipped into such a place, viewing all womankind as an object he could derive pleasure from? Did Em not remind him that humans were not alive to feed their hunger, but to seek the truth? She would never connive sinful behavior. She was meek, yes, but unwavering in her commitment to both live and speak the truth. Gere's mind began to blur. Buddha sought love and truth in right living by shunning the allure of desire which shuts out the light of love and truth. So too did Greek philosophers look deep in the night for truth, nearly mounting its peak by reason and logic alone. The whole universe seemed to speak of an order not of its own doing, something statistics could not account for. And in the groan of life defeated, of the good vanquished, the bad victorious, and the ugly misunderstood, there is something quite curious, a truth that's always eluding those seeking the mysterious wonders, something that's alluding to an understanding of why all known truths are but precluding to the revelation of why humans both suffer and exist. It's found in the one who says, I am. It's for him that we exist. Jesus Christ came back from the dead. He was crushed by mankind's fist of blind, raging hate, and instead of returning the like for like, he gave his life, he died, he bled. God gave his son, his little tyke, over to the hands of men, who drove through each hand and foot a spike into the cross which held him to the cross, as it was raised up straight, alongside two other men who walked through life with a crooked gait. One believed, the other mocked. One did not have very long to wait to see the glory of the sun. The other thief's heart remained hard. One accepted God's only son, the other held on to the nard, only to sell it for some gold that he would all too soon discard. The bad thief wanted to behold earth's riches, like Judas, hung up on all in life that will take hold of those seeking to fill their cup, only to find it soon runs dry. The good thief drank the other cup, the one which made our Savior cry, Father, allow this cup to pass. But Christ obeyed and drank it dry. He died, was buried, but alas, he came back from the depths of hell, as Scripture said would come to pass. He visited those he knew well. At first they did not recognize their friend, but their faith broke the spell, and they saw him with their own eyes. Their friend, he was dead, they were sure. Yet this man here wore no disguise. It was him, and just to be sure, Thomas touched his wounds and believed. Gere, his mind still a total blur, from outside of his thoughts received a tug on his jacket. Huh? What? Gere blurts, finding himself upheaved from his highway of thoughts. Gere, what are you thinking about? Asks John. Some real deep thoughts that just got cut off. How about you, John? I'm thinking on Em, John responds. You two were close. The priest says you loved her. Yeah, John. Wait, what? Gear exclaims. Such a dose of blunt truth nearly knocks Gear flat. This thrusts him out of his morose attitude. He tugs at the hat, keeping his ears warm. He grows hot, feeling like someone poured a vat of hot oil on him. He did not know what to say to John's statement. He felt like a modern robot rusting in a future basement, his running program out of date. I loved her too. I feel God sent me into the rose. It's my fate, and Em was the reason for it, John says. Yeah, well, why don't you hate God for taking Em? You admit to loving her, but your God took her. How are you going to fit that into your picture? Just look around. These priests you've come to cling to don't know they're on a hook, baited with a juicy nothing. It's mythic imagination. God just gives us something to sing about. God is man's invention, an answer to the answerless question of all life's creation. God's nothing more and nothing less, Gear says. Yeah, well, God answered back, John intones. No, John, I confess faith is powerful. But step back. Science gives us a tangible proof. Religion will always lack such proof that is credible, Gear retorts. Humans are unique, but we are also fallible in lots of ways. We're like a freak of nature. We use these abstract concepts like math to help us seek truth and lies, opinion and fact. Sorry, John, I hate to be cold. All you gotta do is subtract God from the story and just hold true your reason and logic. You can then get rid of the old ways that divide and cause tragic wars. Religions only arise from a culture, not some magic unknown God. John turned down his eyes. If that's true, why do you deny what you are? John asks. I hate lies, John. But Em said God is truth. Why don't you see? John, you can believe all you want. Gear lets out a sigh. God and devil, Adam and Eve, as good as these stories might be, they're not true. You can still believe like Em, but at some point you'll see they're just mythic imaginings that keep human society tied to their common beginnings. One day you'll see that we're all one with just one thing underpinning our diversity. There's no son of God, just a mythical man who, just like us, is made of sun dust, Gear finishes. But how can that be? If that's not true, then what is truth? Asks John. John, if you can test or measure it, it's true. But if you can't, we can't say for sure. I know it's hard for you, John, but the revealed truth does not concur with empirical truth. There's no measurable evidence. Were there, it could be proved. We could show without doubt God exists. That would defeat faith, though, John says with slow realization. St. Tom could not hold his faith without a touch. The only way that John can know God exists is with faith. Oh, such a dilemma. Who gets my trust? John asks. Is it faith or the touch? Is God both truth and love, or just the consequence of nature's way? Without warning, John felt a gust of cold air. They were on their way to Magnapolis. Would he find the answer there? Without delay, John left Gear's ideas behind, but they would remain, emerging from hidden depths within his mind. Promptly, at the lead priest's urging, they continued on their journey. Soon they would be converging with many other refugee villagers desperate for help they hoped to find in the city. In a dank chamber. From the dark came an eerie yelp. It sounded human, but not quite. The stranger walked toward the yelp in the shadows. He held in his right hand was his carefully honed knife. The pitch dark robbed him of his sight. The rank, putrid flesh, void of life, crept into his nostrils, a smell trespassing, taking on a life inspired by demons from hell, eliciting a long-denied fear of death. He felt the fear swell, so he clutched the knife at his side. Was the deranged yelper the source of the smell? Nowhere here to hide and wait. There's only one course through here. Yelp! Yelp! The strange beast groaned, in an admixture of remorse and what? Hunger? Fear? Next it moaned. like it was sad and lonely here. Lonely, of course. Yelp! Yelp! The stranger honed his senses again, lost his fear. The pathetic creature was sad, that's all. He'll make it disappear and get his gold from the Mad King. Then he's gonna quit. He'll ride to the sea and sail away. Glad tidings ahead. Yelp! It cried. It was louder, closer, but he hadn't moved. It was dark inside the cellar, damp, cold, and stony. Just kill the abomination, Mad Renfrey had demanded. Why he accepted the invitation? Focus, damn it, focus, he yells at himself. His intuition, always with him, was gone. He quells the thoughts with a quick, shallow stab to his thigh. An impulse impels him to ball up his fist and jab over and over at his nose. Blood gushes out. He tries to grab his insane fist, dealing the blows repeatedly. He lost control of his arm. Ahead, something glows, crawling slow out of a dark hole. It reminds him of the green lamp bugs he used to catch. He would roll them in his fingers till the lamp broke, oozing out its yellow-green liquid light. It felt good to stamp out life. Yelp! Yelp! Cried the unseen monster. So close. He could not smell any more. He just saw the green glow as warm, red blood dripped and fell into pools on the stony ground. He seemed to be under a spell. He could not move or turn around. Pain pulsated from his flat nose. The grotesque figure, without sound now, stood to face him nose to nose, its catastrophic face glowing green. The stranger's panicked eyes froze. This silent horror had knowing eyes, so familiar, like that freak mage Creeple. Time began slowing down. Fresh blood continued to leak from his demolished nose. Embraced now, he heard the freak softly speak. Daddy, feed! The stranger's heart raced as the creature's mouth opened wide. Its warty tongue reached out and traced the stranger's nose, then reached inside, affixing its mouth in a wet, drooling kiss. How the stranger cried as the squirming tongue met his brain. He then went comatose, and Daddy came to join his pet, feeding with his son in a gross smorgasbord, a gorging of flesh, secret, hidden, but oh so close.